Here's a classic story about the power of doubling. Legend has it that the inventor of chess took his game to the emperor, and the emperor was so impressed that he offered the inventor this reward. He said, "I'll give you enough rice to feed your family for a year." But the inventor came back with this counter offer. So the inventor said, "Just give me 1 grain of rice on the first day for the first square of the chessboard, and then double it every day for all the squares on the chessboard. So 2 grains the second day, 4 grains the third day." And the emperor agreed. So let's fill in the first row of the chessboard with grains of rice and see where we are after 8 days. So the first square, first day, 1 grain of rice. Doubling the next day to 2, next day to 4, to 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. So after the first row is filled in, we have 128 grains of rice, which is not very much. So let's take that first row of the chessboard and write these numbers out a slightly different way. So there's our grains of rice from the first row of the chessboard. We started with 1, ended up with 128 grains of rice on the 8th day. So we could also write it this way. The first day you had 1, second day you had 1 times 2 grains of rice. Third day you had 2 times 2 grains of rice. The fourth day, 2 times 2 times 2, all the way up to the 8th square where we had 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, lots of 2's, times 2. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Multiply 2 together 7 times, you get 128. So there's an easier way to notate this for all you math guys out there. This could be written as 2 to the 7th power. It's going to be easier to fill out this chessboard if we start working that way. So back to the chessboard, let's see if we can fill in row 2 here. So we were at 128, so doubling that, we get 256, 512, 1024, 2048, 4096, 8092, let's see, 16384, and last but not least 32,768 grains of rice by the end of the second row of the chessboard by the 16th day. So we're kind of getting somewhere. So to recap, let's see, those are the numbers, but we could also notate these as like a power of 2. So remember, this one was 2 to the 7th, so this is 2 to the 8th, 2 to the 9th, all the way to 2 to the 15th. So I think at this point, I can't do this in my head anymore, and I'm going to have a hard time writing these big numbers, so I think we should put this in a spreadsheet, because spreadsheets are born to do this kind of stuff. Plus, how big a pile is 32,000 grains of rice? I don't know. We got to figure that out. All right, we can do that. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. A nice 2-pound box of minute rice. That's a quantity I can actually comprehend. So we got to figure out how many grains of rice will it take to make a 2-pound box. So we can figure that out, then we'll plop that in our spreadsheet. So let's ask Google, how many grains of rice in a pound? All right, that looks possible. Let's see, how many grains of rice in a pound? Approximately 22,727 grains of rice in a pound. All right, we got a number we can work with. All right, so let's see if we can put this whole grains of rice chessboard thing into a spreadsheet. So here's a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, and this first column is going to be the squares on the chessboard. So square number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Remember, we said we could express the grains of rice by a power of 2. So remember, the 16th square was 2 to the 15th was a number of grains of rice. So Excel is good at these kinds of things, so what we can do is put a formula in here. So we're going to take 2 and raise it to this power. And what you can do is you can copy that formula down and just paste it in. Spreadsheets are good at this kind of stuff. So let's paste that in. And there we go. So that looks right. So on the 16th day, we had 32,768 grains of rice. So looks like the formula is correct. But then, since that's kind of hard to comprehend, we wanted to figure out how many 2-pound boxes of rice that would be. So we can do a formula for that. So the formula for that would be, take the number of grains of rice and you divide it by 22,727, which is 1 pound of rice, times 2. So obviously we don't start out with a box of rice if there's only 1 grain of rice. So let's copy this guy down. And by the 16th square on the chessboard, you have not quite 1 box of rice. Let's go one farther. Let's copy this down. Pop it in here. There you go. So on the 17th day, 17th square, we finally get up to a little over 1 box of rice. So day 17, 1 box of rice. Day 18, day 19, day 20, day 21, day 22. Uh-oh, think about this time. The inventor is going to open a food pantry, and the emperor is getting pretty nervous about this whole arrangement. I think we need a bigger unit of measurement. How about a dump truck? I wonder how much rice we can get in a dump truck. Let's go Google that. How many tons can a dump truck carry? And the answer is about 13 tons legally. So let's go with that number and put that in our spreadsheet. So back to the spreadsheet. When we left off, we were at day 17 and we just gotten to 1 box of rice. So let's copy that down a little bit. Let's go to the end of the 3rd row of the chessboard, the 24th square. So by that time, we're up to 184 boxes of rice. That's getting someplace. But we said we wanted to try dump trucks. So let's cook up a formula for dump trucks. So the formula would be, we know there's 22,727 grains of rice in 1 pound, times 2,000 in a ton, times 13 tons in a truck. So there you go. This should be the number of dump trucks of rice. Let's copy that down. At the end of the 3rd row. Not too much yet. So let's copy it down. See what happens when we fill in the 4th row of the chessboard. Wow, we already got to 3.5 dump trucks full of rice by the time we got through the 4th row of the chessboard. We're halfway through and we're getting almost 4 truckloads of rice. Let's just go one more row of the chessboard. By that time, you're up to 930 truckloads. This is crazy. One last calculation, and I promise I'll stop. How much rice does China produce in a year? And the answer is, China produces 190 million tons of rice a year. So one last column. All the rice in China for 1 year. The formula for that would be number of grains of rice in a pound times 2,000 for a ton times 190 million tons is how much they produce in 1 year. So let's copy that down to where we left off. We're down here with 930 trucks. Okay, so it's still not showing there. So let's copy this down. We're at the end of the 5th row. So let's go down to the 6th to the 7th row. Alright, so by the end of the 7th row of the chessboard, we have more rice than China produces in 4 years. So what the heck, let's just fill in the rest. All the way to the 64th square, and there you go. All the rice China produces in 1,000 years.